Hi guys, today I'll be reviewing a film that mystically reimagines the internal dialogue of one of Pablo Escobar's cocaine hippos. This is definitely a hippo film we didn't know we needed. The director Nelson Carlos Dolos Santos Rios picked up the Silver Bear Best Directing Award at last year's Berlin Film Festival, and since then Dominican Republic have picked this as their official submission for the 98th Academy Award for Best International Feature Film. And this piece of experimental avant-garde cinema is currently available to stream in the UK on Mubi. In this video, I'm going to give you an overview and point out 5 interesting things of the film. I will then look at how well it could do in the Oscar race. So let's roll and review that film. If you're new to my channel, my name is Paul, and I review the best of world cinema, and I follow the race for Best International Feature Film, from countries selecting their submission to the final winner. Pepe is a hippo that happily is living in Africa, but is then shipped off to the Americas, where it is not the native land for the hippo population. His discomfort with this forced migration sees him run away, causing fear amongst the locals. It's not told through a traditional narrative. Instead, it explores political themes through a very fragmented use of sound and visuals, exploring the themes of colonialisation, forced migration, and ecological degradation. Here are 5 things about the film Pepe. Number 1, it is mainly driven by the internal dialogue of Pepe the hippo. The majority of the dialogue within this film is the internal thoughts of the dead Pepe as he considers existential questions following his forced migration across the global south. This is told through a variety of different languages and considers a number of different existential challenges, but the dialogue itself is actually told in a very poetic manner. The second point is the soundscape used in the film. It's a very unique way in which it's developed, using the natural sounds of the environment Pepe finds himself in, but turning them up and putting them on a loop to create this quite daunting and overwhelming sense of the environment in which Pepe is living in. And it's then complemented by very abstract use of visuals, so white blank screens, dark, scary areas, overshots of the rivers in which Pepe is living in, and various other visual enticements. And I think it predominantly does work quite well. However, I think it's slightly overused to the extent it becomes a bit too challenging for the viewer. It's trying to create the sense of the alienating environment that Pepe is living in, but I think it takes it a bit too far. That makes it very alienating to watch. Number 3 is the overt political messaging. Now, I have no problem with the messages it's saying and no problem with it being very overt in the way it says them. It explores really important themes of migration and forced migration, colonialism and their legacy that has left, plus also how the rest of the world view the global south. It is very distinctly political in such an overt way, which makes it a really interesting point of view coming from Dominican Republic. Number 4 is the free-flowing narrative that drives the film. Like much experimental and avant-garde cinema, it does not have a simple and easy-to-follow narrative. Instead, it's exploring different textures, tones, concepts in a very fragmented way, which at times feels extremely alienating, but at the same time, it also feels very stimulating and challenging in a positive way. This film is very much one of those eating your greens of cinemas. You know it's doing you good in terms of your ability to analyse and explore challenging concepts. However, it's not necessarily the most accessible or the most enjoyable to watch at times. And number 5 is the comparison with other films that explore these concepts in a very similar way. So the 2 films that I thought of while watching Pepe is Dahomey, which explores the legacy of colonialism in Burkina Faso, and Cow, which explores what it's like to be a dairy cow. And I think there's elements of these two films that are peppered throughout Pepe. However, I don't think Pepe brings it to the level that these two films do. Now, while I admire the ambition of Pepe as a film and feel a bit enriched having watched it and its unique take on direction, visuals, and soundscape, there is a lot here that makes it quite a tough watch and tedious, if I can be honest, which moves it away from the political points it's trying to make. And that might just be me and my inability to perhaps engage with such avant-garde cinema. Because of this, I'm going to give Pepe 3 stars. It's good, it's challenging. I don't want to watch it again, but I'm glad for the experience. The country Dominican Republic have submitted Pepe as their official Oscar submission. And I think it's another interesting trend from that Caribbean country. They have submitted 18 films so far and have yet to even get on the shortlist. However, they are doing the most interesting and perhaps art house type of film coming out of the Caribbean. So while their titles are not necessarily hitting the mark in terms of the Oscar race, they are really producing some really interesting cinema, which sometimes doesn't work, but that is the point of this type of cinema. Well, Pepe is a film that played at last year's Berlin Film Festival and probably won't have a huge campaign behind it, and is probably going to be a bit too challenging for the Oscar voters. I really don't see it progressing to the shortlist, despite its positive attributes. However, I do think if the Dominican Republic can continue to invest in such cinema and produce this sort of cinema, I think it will not be too long before they're going to be in contention to get a nomination, which will be fantastic for Dominican cinema. Have you seen this mystical retelling of Pablo Escobar's cocaine hippos and their internal thoughts and feelings? If you have, put in the comments below what you thought. Did you get a lot out of it? Did you enjoy it? Or was it a bit too challenging for you? And if you want to follow the race for Best International Feature Film Oscar and see how well Pepe does in that Oscar race, please do subscribe to Global Film Pool and check out my other reviews of the potential contenders for Best International Feature Film Award. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.